and the decision that's expected anytime now will play into the conversation or into the mix with what the SEC, the action that the SEC has brought against Binance and Coinbase.
So I think the Ripple case, like all of these cases, they all do boil down to the same question, which is, are these things securities? And so I think it will have really significant precedential value. That being said, I don't know if they're all consolidated into the same court. And so you could easily have split courts.
Yeah, true.
That's number one. Number two, no matter what happens, these decisions are getting appealed.
For sure.
So I think we're in for a pretty long road here about settling this. But at some level, this is where it all has to end, because the only two options were comply, or sue.
Wow.
Those are the only two options, and eventually that ends up wherever it ends up. But I think so. So I think the Ripple case will have huge implications. It will be very determinative for, it will be a huge benefit to whichever side wins in the Ripple case. But I don't think it ends either one, because I think either way these things are getting these things are going to get litigated out to the nth degree, out to basically the end of the road, whatever that road is.
Do you think the end of the road is the Supreme Court?
I think so. Look, I think there's remember, the Supreme Court doesn't have to hear anything.
Right.
So unless there's a circuit split, not to do like civil procedure on people, and I'm not a lawyer, right? But unless two senior federal courts, so district, circuit, Supreme, unless two different circuit courts come to different positions, there's actually no obligation for the Supreme Court to hear anything. And so I think that it will go all the way up to the lip of the Supreme Court. Now, whether the Supreme Court decides to let Howey stand, the Howey test stand, or whether it decides that it needs to hear this one in that context, I think is TBD. And the reason I think it's important to note this is that the Howey test is pretty well written.
Yeah.
Right. And it's been pretty flexible, and it's been applied to a lot of different cases. And each time the Supreme Court has mostly decided not to rewrite it. So if the Supreme Court were to decide, hey, we kind of like the Howey test, it's in some ways like it's worth reading. It's kind of a very articulate, flexible, strong framework. And courts, even if you just restate it, you're going to restate it with different words. If you restate it with different words, you're actually creating new law.
You're changing it, right?
And so that's where I don't know where this will go. I think it for the crypto side to win, it will have to go to the Supreme Court. Because I think if the Supreme Court, if let's say a circuit court decides to rewrite the Howey test in some way so that so many crypto assets are not securities, I actually think what will happen is the Supreme Court will not let that stand. I think they will, decide to kind of rewrite it. If, on the other hand, the SEC wins at the circuit court, then there is an option for the Supreme Court to basically say, well, the Howey test is good law. Circuit court applied it. We don't need to rewrite it at the Supreme Court level.